guys. So in my pattern, after you've weaved in your ends, I recommend blocking each of your squares. I have not done that yet, and for the sake of moving on with this tutorial, I'm not going to do that at this step. But if you were going to, you can get a blocking board or even a cardboard box, or like I do, probably not what you should do. I just use my carpet and I use some sewing pins, and I'll tack my corners and then one spot on each side. And if you want to get technical, you can take a measuring tape, make sure each side is exactly the same and the diagonals are exactly the same. And then I have a steam iron. I'll put some water in it, plug it in, let it warm up, and then I will hold the iron over the top and use the steam to kind of shape it how I want it to look. Now, this yarn is acrylic yarn. If you put the iron, if you touch the iron, it will melt your yarn. But acrylic yarn, to block it and have it stay that way, it does require heat. So that's why the steam is important, and it is important not to touch your iron to the yarn because it will melt it. Now we're gonna go on to assembly here. So this one, you notice I switched because I have 4 of these ones done. And for the sake of time, we're gonna move on to assembly. I'm gonna use this yarn because I use this yarn out here to assemble it. And I have a couple examples here, previous ones I have made. So in the pattern, I give you 2 options for the borders and then 2 options for assembling it. So I'll show you that here. So this option, I used single crochets to assemble my bag. And then this option, I just sewed, that came off. I sewed my squares together, all right? And then this is the ribbed, sorry, this is the front here. This is the ribbed border option that I do include in the pattern. And then this is the twisted double crochet option that's included in the pattern as well. So since I've done one with single crochet and a twisted border and then sewing and ribbed border, I think I actually prefer the single crochet border because if you see, I think it defines the squares and the design inside of it a little bit better. So I'm going to connect mine and assemble it with the single crochets. However, I'm going to do a ribbed border at the top. I'll show you a little bit of the twisted double crochet border, but I'm going to do a ribbed border on this one that I'm doing now. So you'll take your 4 granny squares. So the back side you will put, this is the right side, you'll put right side down. All right. Then your front one, you'll put right on top of that. And then your other 2, you'll fold like a triangle, and then they will go on the sides here. So fold like a triangle, and then they go on the sides. If you don't think your sides line up, just kind of play around with it. All right. And then it is helpful if you pin them together, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to single crochet them together. So I'm going to take away all my squares except for the front one and this triangle here. I'm going to put those to the side. And then I actually want this part where I joined of my triangle to be on the back. So I'm going to flip that around. And the part of my triangle that will be the front of my bag and my front square, I'm going to take them like this and do it like this. So right side out, and they're just going to be like this. Then I'm going to put a slip knot on my hook. I'm going to put my hook right in that chain 1 space of that single crochet round of the last round that we did on through both of them, and I'm going to slip stitch to join there. Let's try that again. And then I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to single crochet in that same spot. And then I'm going to single crochet all the way down, keeping my stitches matched up. So where's that bobby pin? So I'm going to bobby pin that chain 1 space of the last round we did on the granny squares together on both of them, just so it's a little bit easier to keep my stitches lined up and keep count, okay? So we're just going to single crochet them together. You don't want to do it too tightly. Do it a little bit looser. Have a little bit looser tension. You're not slip stitching here. You're doing a full single crochet all the way down. And if they're not exactly matching up, you can just kind of fudge it a little bit if you have to, but try to keep your stitches, your stitch counts aligned when you're doing this part. I'm going to remove my pin here, finish up. All right, so there you've got your first side and your first triangle. So this bottom corner will fold up down towards the back there, and you're not going to fasten off your yarn yet. Gonna leave that. Then you're going to take the square that's going to be on the back of your work, and you're going to turn your work like this. So the right side of your front is facing down and the wrong side is facing you. Then you're going to take the right side of your back square and face that towards you and put your wrong sides together. And you're going to turn your work back around so your front is facing you. So now we're going to be single crocheting the back panel to the front panel. So I'm going to single crochet. So I single crochet into that chain one space here on the front, and I'm going to do that again to join the back to the front here. And then we can use our pin, put it through the single crochet spot on both the front and the back ones here to keep things lined up. And then we'll proceed to single crochet along the whole front and back panels here, just along this bottom side. Don't start over here yet. All right, so we did that. Now I'm gonna grab my last square here. So this is the front side of my bag. So I'm gonna pull my front up and kind of bring my back here. So we're gonna take, so this will be our other side here, the other one that will fold up into a triangle, okay? So I'm gonna take this edge, and this is our front panel. Take these edges, go like this, and then I'll turn so I can single crochet down these two together. So you have your right side up facing you, your wrong sides are together, and you're only single crocheting that next triangle panel to the front panel. Your back panel is over here. Don't crochet it to your back panel. So it kind of, if you need help remembering this, you can label front panel, back panel. You can write on a little piece of paper, safety pin it to your work. Left, right, front, back, okay? Just gonna slip stitch that one there and then single crochet my way down to attach the triangle, what will be the triangle panel, to my front panel. See, I'm missing one of my plies here. I'm gonna fix that. All right, now that we've done that, we'll have 3 panels on the front and one attached at the bottom here. This is the back panel. So we're gonna flip the back panel back around here, and then we'll, there goes my hook. Fasten this off, pull through, and then we'll flip around. So we're facing the back now. We're gonna fold our triangle, fold your triangle up, all right? And then I'm gonna start here, and with the slip stitch on my hook, I'm going to put it through that chain one space on both the triangle panel here and the corner of the back panel, and I'm just going to slip stitch that together. All right, and then it helps to kind of just fold it like this as you do it to keep things aligned. I'm going to chain one and then single crochet right here again. I'm going to pull that tail there just towards the inside so I can weave it in later and it's out of my way, and then I'll single crochet down the sides of both panels here to single crochet them together. Now when I get to the corner here, I'll kind of single crochet where these 2 squares meet, and then I'll fasten off here, and then I'll go and weave in that end just to hide it. And the general rule of thumb, oh, I gotta pull it through first, when you're weaving in your ends is to go in 3 different directions, because the idea behind that is your work is not going to pull in 3 different directions at the same time. It might pull in 2, but it's not going to pull in 3. And that will make it so your ends don't pop out, okay, or undo. All right, so we've got this side of our bag. There we go. There's the right orientation there. We've just got to fold this part up and single crochet that together the same way we did that side. So starting with that slip stitch on your hook, we're going to take these 2, fold it down like this, and then slip stitch to join in that chain one space in the corner there. I'm going to take this tail and tuck it underneath so it's out of my way. Then we'll chain one and single crochet in that same stitch, and then down the line. This is our last seam to seam together, and then we can move on to our border. All right, we'll fasten off there and weave in our ends before we move on to the border. All right, so this is what our bag looks like after we have done the majority of the assembly. Isn't that pretty? I will say I do like the color changes with it, but if you use a pretty, and like just in a solid color, it's like beautiful. And the single crochet option really accentuates the squares in the designs in it. So we're going to start on the border. Now in the pattern I say to join it like in the middle of the back here. That's going to be against your body. Nobody's going to really see it. And again, I'm going to start with a slip stitch on my hook. Put my hook in, slip stitch it in. If I can manage that. All right, in row 1 of both border options, the twisted double crochet and the ribbed option starts the same. So you're going to chain 1 and single crochet in the same stitch you just slip stitched into, and you're going to single crochet all the way around the bag, and then slip stitch into your beginning single crochet. And then when I get to the seamed areas like I'm coming up on now, I will put a single crochet right in front of it. And then I will also put my needle through the single crochets one of the single crochets we made when we were seaming it together, just to bring it up and make it a little more even. And then I'll put one right behind it. And then I'll just keep going on my merry way. And I'll just put 2 single crochets in the corners there on the triangles, and then keep single crocheting, just 1 single crochet in each stitch around all the way to the bag, and then we'll join to the original single crochet that we did. I'll be back when I'm done with that. Alright, I finished my first single crochet round for the border, and I'm going to do the ribbed one here for mine, but I will show you guys how to start the twisted double crochet one. So you'll start off by chaining 3, and that will count as your first double crochet for the twisted double crochet border. And then you'll skip the next stitch, you'll double crochet into the next stitch, then you'll go back and double crochet into that stitch that you skipped, which creates that twisted effect. And you'll keep doing this all the way around. Skip the next stitch, double crochet into the one to the next, and then go back, double crochet into the one that you skipped. Do that again. Skip one, double crochet into the next, then go back and double crochet into the one that you skipped. And then you'll do that all the way around, and you'll slip stitch back into the chain 3 here. And then you'll go back in and do another round of single crochets all on the top into these stitches here after you finish your twisted double crochet. But I'm going to do the ribbing border option here that I give. You can make your ribbing as thick or as thin as you would like, but I'm just going to start off here chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I kind of turn my work so it's like this, and then I'm going to single crochet down this side here. So 1, you'll end up with 4 single crochets. 2, 3, 4. And then you'll see here, we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch and into the next one again. And then we'll turn our work. We're not going to chain anything here. We're going to skip those 2 stitches that we slip stitch into. 1, 2. So this will be our first single crochet, but we're going to single crochet into the back loop only. So your stitches have these here. This is, if you were going to go through both loops, you'd pick up both stitches there, so both sides of the V. But we're going to work through the back loop only, and we're going to go into this loop here and do a single crochet for the first 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And then on that last single crochet, we're going to work through both loops, and then we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And we're going to work through both loops of that first single crochet, and then back loops only of the next 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you'll slip stitch into your next stitch on the bag and the next one after that. Then you'll turn without chaining anything, skip those 2 slip stitches you did, and back loop single crochet the first 3 single crochets on your ribbing here, and then through both loops of that 4th single crochet. And then you'll chain 1 and turn. So going back down again, both loops of that first single crochet, back loops only of the next 3 single crochet. Then slip stitch into the next stitch of your bag. So we're in this stitch, we're going to slip stitch in this one, and then slip stitch again in the next one. Turning without chaining, skipping those 2 slip stitches we did, and working 3 single crochets in the back loop only along our ribbing. Having some difficulty. There we go. Turn it a little bit, and then through both loops of that last one, and then chain 1 and turn. And you'll continue in that fashion, and I'll stop in again when I've got a little bit more worked so I can show you guys. All right, here we go. So I am coming close to the end of my ribbing. I'm gonna go down again and slip stitch into the area we started off. And then I'm gonna squeeze both ends of my ribbing together, and I'm just gonna slip stitch that together. And do it a little bit looser too. And then I will fasten off, weave in my ends, and your crossbody is pretty much done at this point. If you choose to line it and add a zipper, go ahead and do that. The reason I'm not showing you that is I am a little bit of a sewing novice, so I'm not very great at sewing. I have lined, I'll show you a couple ideas here. This I hand lined. Is it perfect? No, it's just some fabric. I put my bag down on 2 layers of the fabric, traced it around, sewed it, and then sewed it to my bag, and then I sewed my zipper in. You just want to make sure you don't get your yarn too close to the zipper or it'll make it harder, and just try to line everything up nicely. And then this is another way to do it. This is a pouch that I got from Hobby Lobby. So these outside triangles are not lined, only this part is lined. I just used this pouch and put it inside and stitched my project to it. And yeah, those are some awesome options. So when you put so I have tried to use D-rings on the ends here and single crochet them on the corners here. However, when you put it on, they kind of shift and move and the flat part doesn't stay down, and I don't like how that looks. So I have just decided that the best way to do it is just to kind of clip your purse strap in at the corners on each side, and then you're ready to go. And that's how you make the Willow Crossbody.